The story of Little Truck. In a very small village lived Little Truck, Little Truck's father, and Little Truck's father's family. Although Little Truck's family was very poor, they were harmonious and joyful people. The father who first bought Little Truck and gave him his name loved Little Truck very much. Every day he would wash him with water, clean his wheels, load him with heavy cargo to go far away for business. And whenever there was business in town, they would always go together. On days when the family went on picnics, they would load delicious food and travel happily while singing songs. As time passed, the hard-working father earned a lot of money and bought a very pretty car in addition to Little Truck. Now the father spent more time with the shiny, sparkling car rather than Little Truck, who had become old and shabby. Of course, family picnics were also taken with that car. Little Truck had become just an old vehicle that only carried cargo. Then one day, a tremendously large fire broke out in the village. Little Truck's family was so panicked that they had to quickly load their clothes and necessary belongings into a car and flee. The father thought the car was too small to carry all the family members and luggage, so he loaded Little Truck with lots of cargo, put all the family members in, and hurriedly departed. Now old with worn-out tires, unable to go fast, and emitting puffs of smoke, there was no other choice but to keep moving forward. Behind them, the flames gradually grew fiercer, chasing after Little Truck. Little Truck used all his remaining strength and moved even more vigorously forward to save his family. After traveling along the road for a long time, rumbling and barely moving forward, Little Truck successfully managed to bring his family out of the village safely. However, having exhausted all his strength, he finally came to a complete stop on the road. The panicked family no longer wanted to entrust their lives to the worn-out Little Truck. The first to pack their belongings and leave were grandfather and grandmother. They cursed Little Truck, saying they didn't want to die on the roadside with their old bodies, and left. Next were mother and the children. They said they couldn't let the young children starve to death on the roadside, bid farewell to Little Truck, and departed. Little Truck's father, who had stayed until the very end, said there was nothing more he could do. Just as he was about to say his final goodbye to Little Truck and grab the steering wheel one last time, he realized that Little Truck wasn't broken, but had simply run out of fuel and couldn't go any further. However, since the father had no money and didn't know where to buy fuel, he apologized to Little Truck and left in tears. Little Truck's heart ached more from the fact that his beloved father had left him than from being unable to move forward. For a while, no one came to that road. Then one day, the sounds of children began to be heard. Little children living in a nearby neighborhood discovered Little Truck parked on the road and climbed on him, jumped around and played with joyful laughter. Lonely Little Truck's heart brightened again at the children's laughter, and he smiled happily. However, as the children grew up and became adults, they no longer came to visit Little Truck. Little Truck felt very lonely and heartbroken. Feeling so very sad and dejected, Little Truck thought he was nothing and wanted only to die. Then one day, an elderly gentleman with graying hair and no energy visited him. That person was none other than Little Truck's father. As soon as the father saw Little Truck, he became very happy, hugged Little Truck, and began to cry. Little Truck also shed endless tears upon meeting his father. The father spoke first. "Little Truck, I'm so sorry. I wanted to come looking for you, but I didn't have money to buy fuel, so it took a long time to find you. Here, I've brought fuel so Little Truck can run again. Now let's drive together like before." Little Truck quietly looked into the eyes of his father, whose hair had turned gray and who looked powerless. Then he finally opened his mouth to speak. "Father, I'm okay. I'm happy here just like this, although it breaks my heart to part with you. I can meet little children here, listen to bird songs, talk with trees, and live joyfully. I will stay here. What I wish for is that you take the fuel and return to the family." The father realized he could no longer make Little Truck run and, with a very sad face, bid farewell again and departed. More time passed, and Little Truck became covered with dust, with weeds growing here and there, becoming part of nature with almost no trace of his former appearance. Little Truck deeply felt that he had become completely useless. Though sad, Little Truck lived each day, remembering the time when his father and family had loved him. Then one day, a miraculous thing happened. Little Truck heard the sound of something sprouting and wriggling inside him. Finally, he saw flowers blooming through the pile of accumulated dust and butterflies flying in. Little Truck was moved that he had become an existence capable of holding soil for growing flowers, and he was certain that more flowers would grow in his cargo bed, creating a garden full of flowers. From then on, Little Truck was no longer a useless existence, but came to love his proud self even more and smiled with happiness. This story is dedicated to all the great mothers in the world. The end.